If you could remove one event from your life, what would it be? The time I had a surgery and the anesthesia fked with my brain and now I can't fking function as a person. My aunt went in for a knee surgery and came out just different. She had a complete mental breakdown when her father passed away. He was old and sick and it was expected. She had to go into treatment for several weeks. She died from cancer a few years later and swore to the end that something about that anesthesia messed up her brain. It was even mentioned at her funeral by her husband. My wife passing away. Let's just remove that part and have her sitting next to me right now talking about the ham she's going to make for Thanksgiving. It's a tie between losing my dad and losing my sister. No need to be sorry for my loss or to feel sorry for me. I just wish I'd had longer with them. Breaking my ankle when I was 8. I was trying to climb my grandma's rose apple tree and shattered my ankle. I'm in my 20s and have had 7 operations on it and ended up fking my other leg while trying to avoid injury on my shitty ankle, all because I wanted a fruit and grandma told me to wait until morning. My life would have been much easier and less painful if I listened to my gran, and now I just wish she was still here telling that I need to clean my ears and listen more, because whenever I didn't listen to her I ended in stupid situations. Last year, when I went in for surgery to fix a broken leg and something went wrong. I woke up 18 days later with 8B. When I woke up I couldn't see, move, or speak. I can sort of walk now. I can't really see faces or read well, and I slur my words when I speak, but I'm largely functional for caring for myself. As a young man in Eastern Europe, before the Cold War ended, I was sentenced to the farm pit for dealing drugs. It was basically a deep concrete pit at a hog farm. The criminal stands inside for a few hours, and then the pig's dung is shoveled in with you. I thankfully have a much better life today, but I'll never forget the sickening nausea of the pit. I was around 15, and I had bought a VR headset from those vending machines. Yeah. I tried watching VR porn and my mom walked in. The amount of embarrassment I felt was unreal. To this day I still get chills from it. I was about 25 when I decided to explore new kinks. Power went out, and I thought it was the perfect time to try a new one. Public masturbation. Went outside. It was super dark. No chance people could see me. Start jacking off. Power comes back on. I'm directly under a street light. Every single fking person looks out their window to see if the power is back everywhere, and sees me beating off. Edit. For people asking what I did next, I fking moved. My apartment was already shitty and I felt no attachments to that place. My most traumatizing experience was getting spit on, puked on, by a llama at a petting zoo with my first girlfriend. What I thought I knew when I entered the petting zoo. Llamas are cute furry animals whose only real defense is to spit. Just wipe it off. No big deal. What I knew when I left the petting zoo. If you really piss them off, llama spit is actually green. Smells like putrid rat carcasses boiled in sour milk, and won't wash off no matter how long you spend in the petting zoo bathroom. Being bitten by a baboon viper on the right ankle. Most extreme pain I've ever been in. I puked and screamed on the way to the hospital. Being buck ragged as a punishment by my parents growing up. Look it up if you don't know what it is. Worst childhood memory by far. Despite being close with my family. Then again, the 2 times I received it I had been a pretty big piece of shit. Who knows what I'd be like today if I wasn't punished for it. Agreeing to a deal with my parents. It led to me going to their choice of my college instead of mine. And it led to me having a ton of debt. And it led to me working dead-end jobs instead of becoming a teacher. Funnily, when your life goes south because of the decisions that were forced on you, some parents always make it out as if you were the loser who could not make it work for him and were to blame. It's obviously human nature to avoid taking the blame, but it's a DCK move that you can't counter. Reversely, whenever you rebel and it all turns out well for you, They feel an unnatural amount of pride in their upbringing, and all the times they were obstacles in your path are just forgotten. I'm just gonna say it. This thread is so sad. I thought for sure it would be more embarrassing but funny stuff, but it's actually just a lot of really sad events. Right. I thought I would join in and talk about the time I decided not to pick up some gravy I spilled. Since I knew my mom was going to pick it up, I ended up tripping on that gravy and fractured my toe and gave myself a concussion. Now I feel like my story is out of place. Lol, it was right after Thanksgiving too. I was a victim of domestic violence from 16-18. But in the end it's made me a better therapy student and will make me a better therapist. I could do without the lingering PTSD and anxiety though. PTSD and anxiety is never ideal, but the main positive is that it is easier to relate to for your future patients. May not be the way you want to relate to them, but you gotta work with the cards you are dealt. Being born. Same. I am pretty sure my family's lives would have been better if I was never born. In fact, I think the world would be a slightly better place. I'm not like an evil monster or anything. I just don't add anything positive to the world, and the sacrifices made by others to get me to this point just wasn't worth it. Hard to choose. Some of the worst brought some of the best. I would say my marriage, but it brought me my best friends that helped me after it ended. Also, she got me to volunteer with her to help rehabilitate baby songbirds at the university. Something I never would have thought of doing on my own. I wouldn't give that up even though my life sucks post-divorce. Being robbed by someone I considered a friend. Ruined my trust in people. First day as a dog groomer. Had to help with expressing dog and L glands and got a face full of them. And puked in front of everyone. : When I was molested. When I read the question I thought of this instantly. Started reading the comments and was surprised to find very few such comments. I wish I could remove molestation events from everyone who's experienced its life. It is truly worse than any possible event. Because we block such memories, and a lot of my childhood is a haze. I feel like I don't even know what kind of a kid I was. Cutting as a teenager. Scars are not worth it. Currently 19 days clean of self-harm. I'm 15. I really regret ever starting. I just wanna wear long sleeves again, lol. Edit. I meant short sleeves, sorry, I cannot think today. Thanks for the words of encouragement, guys. It helps a lot. I love you all. Being born to my mom. I like being alive. Though my mom is an actual monster. I wish it was someone else. You know, the biggest problem is that suckers generally don't understand the pain you go through. They all are just like, she's your mom, blah blah. Damn it, community. You don't live in a perfect world. Most of our lives got f'd up due to wrong parenting. Anytime I was sexually assaulted. It's not just one event, but if I could combine them all and completely remove from memory, it would be that. I was thinking the same thing. But then I decided that I would probably get rid of the fact that my parents cut my hair off as punishments for being sexually abused. I was 7 and honestly the memory of that fucks with me more than the actual assault. I'm sorry you had to experience that. My dad taking me to follow my mom who was with another guy. Stopped at an underground parking lot and my dad got into an altercation with the guy. I was 10 and crying in the car while my older brother sat there in silence. I can't help to think, why did my dad would put me through that trauma at such a young age? To this day, I still don't know why and don't want to know why. When my friend showed me porn. I was 8. I wish I never met my baby's mom. I love my daughter but I hate her mom so much. Our relationship was horrible and just got worse when we broke up. I wish I had a child with anyone else. I wish my easily manipulated teenage brain wasn't talked into going to some out-of-state private school for my degree. I have since transferred to a state school and commute. It's going to take me a little longer to graduate and I'm saving a shit-ton, but because of that initial decision I'm over $75,000 in the hole and still racking it up. When I was 21, I joined the Marines. Only lasted a month in boot camp. I wasn't meant for military life. Honestly. Man. Nothing wrong with that. It happens. Not everyone is cut out for the military. And there's nothing wrong with that. At least you figured it out quick and were able to move on. You could have figured it out 6 months into your contract and been stuck for several more years. Being coerced into sex. Saw it coming from a mile away and felt like that night was a f***ing chess match to get me in bed with them. I can't say coerced. But I definitely was pushed into a place where it would be offensive if I declined. I felt trapped. Anyone who says, "It's just talk," has never been in a similar situation. Getting ME, chronic fatigue syndrome. Which led to me losing my house and career and having to live in shitty rentals and subsist on benefits. I'm so sorry. I did not understand the severity of this disease, most likely due to its shitty name which makes it sound like you are tired. FCK no IT is terrible, until I watched a documentary about a woman suffering from this on Netflix and it seems extremely isolating and awful. Especially if you don't get a diagnosis for a while, and even with own seems like a lot of people just don't get it, like I didn't, and so it adds insult to injury. Hope you have a good support system and I hope that more money goes into research for it. Let me know if there is a funded donator for research. My suicide attempt. Apart from now being in a much healthier place mentally, I regret some of the ways it's changed my family. My parents are a lot less pushy and strict when it comes to my plans for the future, which they believe they pressured me into. That's true to some extent. They definitely needed to learn to dial back in some regards. In fact, I think we all had to. But now they seem almost afraid to advise me on anything. Even when I ask for it. I'm almost out of college. But I still have a lot to learn about adult life. And I'm not gonna always know when to ask for advice. I never thought anyone would say this. But I want my parents to be a little more meddlesome. Asking out my most recent ex. I don't exactly regret the relationship. But I only asked her out because I knew she was interested. And I thought the woman I was really into was too good for me. About a week into my new relationship I was told by a mutual friend that I was wrong. And the one I really wanted to be with was interested in me. But I didn't want to be a total jerk and break up with the one I did ask out just because I had a shot with someone I thought was better. So that relationship went on for a few months. And I knew it wasn't going anywhere. And when I was finally ready to end it, my dad died. And even though I knew it was a dead end, I needed someone. So I didn't bream up with her. After about 13 months together I finally worked up the nerve to break up with her like I should have so long before. And stumbled into a date with the woman I secretly wanted the whole time. We've been together for 8 years now. Got married. Have 3 kids and bought a house. But if I could go back and not date the other woman, I could add another year with the love of my life. I witnessed a nasty murder. I was in my Jeep with the top down and watched 2 guys argue on the sidewalk. I didn't want to get involved so I just sat there. One guy pulled out a homemade knife, shank, and plunged it into the other guy's eye. The sound was horrific. I wish I had beeped my horn or something and tried to get them to move along. The guy was later caught and convicted of murder, but I'll never forget the crunching sound when that knife went into his skull. Nightmares for life. Also, my motorcycle accident where I nearly lost my leg 35 years ago. That sucked. Mail here. I was once working with jalapenos for part of a dinner I was making. My hands were bare as I sliced them open, stuffed them, etc. Hands were full of jalapeno oils. I then had to go to the bathroom. You can figure out the rest. My mother telling investigators that despite there being an eyewitness, that I lied about being sexually assaulted by a grown man when I was a child. They chose to believe her instead of a traumatized broken kid. Ruined my life. When I was arped 3 years ago by someone I had trusted as a fitness coach for 3 years. When my mom didn't believe me and my ex-stepdad told me I should have known the consequences of my actions. Remove all that. And I wouldn't have attempted twice and wouldn't have to worry about getting flashbacks while being intimate with my partner. The day a car swerved and hit my vehicle head on. It led to so many issues, but the main one being the fetal trauma, which ultimately led to the loss of my second-born the day after he was born. If it wasn't for that, I'd have my second-born and he would have turned 1 in August. My dad punching me as a kid and sending me into my first full-on panic attack. 25 years later. Still have crippling anxiety and panic attacks. Chances are I'd still have anxiety problems anyways, but the first panic attack being triggered by that. Yeah. He can rot in hell. I just wish I stood up and kicked our varsity coach in the nuts or face when he suggested my teammates beat the shit out of me for being late to practice 1 week after my aunt and uncle passed away 5 days apart. I will never understand that moment or why it happened, but I felt like nothing. Worthless. The day I had to call 911 on dad's mistress number 2 trying to kill him because he decided to stay with mistress number 1 for whom he left my mom and my 5 siblings for. Talk about hot mess. Being abused by my dad. It has really messed me up. I can't stand the nightmares. I hate that his abuse makes me scared of every man I meet. I hated having to tell my mom what happened and seeing her heartbreak. I hate that I loved him. He could have recovered from the drinking and gambling and I would have forgiven him. I could even forgive the spankings and the anger. But you can't be forgiven after touching your own daughter like that. There is no going back. I wish I never hit my ex. It was an awful thing for me to do, but I was so flustered with anger and the lies and deception that I kinda lost control of myself. I should have left him the first day I visited and he made me feel ugly and unworthy. Grad school. College was an amazing, magical time that I would love to have a chance to experience again. Grad school was the exact opposite. It's turned me off from 2 fields that I used to love. And I feel like I've completely wasted 3 years of my life. That 6-month break I took from my partner. That was a mistake. Every other event in my life made me learn something except that. I already knew I was better with them. Having the final impressions of my teeth done after getting my braces off when I was 15. The tech thought it would be fun to put both trays in my mouth and watch me struggle to breathe. My dad just sat there and watched it all go down without batting an eyelash. Had my mom been there, it would have gone very differently. As a result, it screwed up my jaw for 17 years. I haven't trusted dentists since. 2 of my friends who hated each other got in a fight and one of them picked up a huge piece of concrete and fractured my other friend's skull. No one died, but if the dude sneezed his eye could have fallen out of his socket. I wish it never happened. Being beaten by my dad for going to a friend's wedding. I had to go because I was the maid of honor. And I already told my parents. Got home. Was accused of not telling them about it. Coming home late, 7 to 8 PM. And not attending my uncle's get-together party. I knew what was gonna happen next. So I ran into my room and locked the door. Banging on the door, with me barring the door with my body. Then my dad broke in with a crowbar to beat me. Ran away after that for a while. The time I was drugged and lost my virginity to gang up at 14. My sister's death from brain cancer. She was 21. It was a month before my 18th birthday. Miss her every day. Wasn't ready for college after that. Tried to go anyway. Failed. Now I'm in my 30s. No career. Severe depression. I feel constant guilt that she didn't get to be here, but I am. And shame that I'm wasting it. If I could remove a second, it would be dating an emotionally abusive man for 9 years right after leaving college. And letting him gaslight and isolate me. But I'm back in college now. At 32. And I'm really trying. I'm taking it slow. And the financial issues are a constant stressor as well as dealing with the healthcare system. But still. I'm going to make it. For Christine, 3. Seeing my cousin's reconstructed face in the casket after a DUI hit and run. Which I could remember him smiling and laughing and not eerie and off. He looked like a scary doll and I was only maybe 10, so it stuck with me. Now that's the only way I can remember him. If you would have asked me a month ago, I would have said losing my dad in 2017. Now I'd have to say losing my brother a few weeks ago. My dad lived until he was 62, but my brother only got to 36. He lived a tormented life, but things seem to be looking up finally.